Hello everybody. Right, this is Q&A number 2. As with the first one, I will not be trying to attempt to pronounce some of your usernames, in fact any of your usernames, because I think that's the fairest way if I can't actually pronounce them. I'm going to get straight into it because I want to try and make this one a little bit shorter than the last one. And also because I have to turn my fan off to do this, and I'm sweating my balls off because it's fucking boiling. But anyway, where are we? I'm going to start at the bottom. Would you rather have a boob on your chest or your back? Well, I think I'm going to have to go with chest, because otherwise people are just going to be looking at me from behind all the time. That's a bit weird. Favourite fast food? That would be chicken shish kebab with lettuce and mayonnaise. It's not really fast food, but it's the only sort of fast food I can eat these days. And it's good. It's nice. I like it. Why you now have my children? I'm going to guess, unless you're one of the very few female subscribers, I have your male, so that might be a little bit difficult. I mean, if I'm wrong, then I'm sorry, we'll have to sort something out. Okay, the next question is a common one. What was it that first made you want to become a motovlogger? I don't really know. I think I might have even answered this in the first one. Obviously, I was watching motovloggers before, and I had a bike, and I've been into sort of photography and stuff, and I quite like the idea of doing some video stuff, and it all seemed like a great bit of fun. I never imagined it would come to this, that I'm talking to that many of you, but that's amazing. I mean, who knew? So, if you feel like starting vlogging, do it. The worst that can happen is you get 10 subs, and they're the best subs you'll ever have. So, I don't really know exactly why I started, but I'm glad that I did anyway. If you could start again, would you still buy an adrenaline, as in Pulse Adrenaline, the bike that I own? Yeah. I still haven't really seen any other bikes for that sort of money from new that are as good as that bike. I mean, I do quite like the Duke 125. Apologies for cars going past. This might happen. I've had to open the window because it's boiling. But will you fuck off? Although the KTM Duke 125, that's a nice bike. I saw one of those on the Portsmouth ride. One of the guys brought it with him because he was riding it. It was his bike, you know what I mean? And I was quite impressed by it. It was quite nice. How long is your hair in millimetres? I don't know. It goes to like 3/4 of the way down my back when it's wet. It's curly, so it sort of shortens, if you know what I mean. It's quite long. 1013, were you checking out them girls? I remember that bit in the video. No, actually, I wasn't checking them out. I was checking out the guy who was... Oh, God, no, I'm checking out a guy. No, I was checking the guy who was staring at me. As I said, someone is staring at me. I think he realised I was talking. When you did that weird accent, are you trying to sound like Joanna Lumley? No, I wasn't trying to sound like Joanna Lumley. And why don't animals like you? I think you'll find I am pretty much a pimp when it comes to donkeys now. Didn't trust me at first. Now I've got my bitches. Jake. Suck on that. Oh, he's going to do something. I can see this coming now. You see, I've been winding him up about the whole animal thing. I'm waiting for his reply, which is going to be probably monumental and make me look like an idiot, but never mind. Spicy, how often do you cut your hair? Well, I first started growing it about 6 years ago, and noisy cars going past my house, but I've probably cut it 3 times in that time. It really does need the ends trimming, but I generally just don't have it cut, I just have the ends trimmed. I don't know why I'm still growing it. Why not? I look better with long hair, trust me. You wouldn't want to see me with short hair. It's not a pretty sight. When are you going to do a how to wheelie vid? How much is your licence going to cost? I don't know at the moment. If I can do it through one route, as I have many routes I can go through, anywhere between 150 and 500 maybe. It depends how I have to go around it. I don't really know. I have recently been thinking, what is the worst case scenario if I wasn't able to get the money together and get the licence done in time? Worst case scenario, CBT on Betty still. It's not really a big deal. So, yeah, there you go. And before you all going about, oh, well, the rules changed in 2013, shut up, I know. Seriously, I know. How big is your dick? What sort of a question is that? Okay, here's an interesting question. Did you choose to do catering as a job? Was it the joy of the banter that you get in catering, or the fact that 80% of the waitresses have nice butts? No, I got into catering. I got into being a cook, basically, because I was a barman. I was a barman because I got made redundant. So, desperation, barman, quite a regular occurrence, people in need of a job. Then my boss needed his knees replaced, so I ended up going in the kitchen for a few shifts, and before you know it, I was full-time in the kitchen. That's how I got to doing what I'm doing. So, no, I don't really enjoy it. But waitresses, as most of them watch this, I better not say. I'll leave it there. That's a good follow-up question, actually. If you weren't a chef, what job would you like to do most? I don't know. Something that I have to use my brain in quite a lot. I don't know. I really don't. But I do get very bored of not being able to use my brain, because my brain likes to think and do things and problem solve and all that sort of stuff, and when you're in a kitchen cooking the same thing again and again, your brain just starts to turn to grey mush and starts to dribble out the side of your ear. What do you think about the British laws on motorcycle tests in January 2013? I think the rules are stupid. I really don't get some of the UK bike laws. I don't know enough about it to really talk about it too much, but just as someone once said, it's a lot of the laws that we have to follow and go with are actually more to do with car drivers than bikes, and we're suffering because of it. So, yeah. Like, for instance, I believe that on a CBT you should be able to ride up to a 250 or something like that after your first 2 years, because some people don't want to go beyond a particularly big bike, and if you're allowed to ride on a CBT, what's the difference? Why do you have to go through such a fuller test? I don't really understand it. There should be a middle ground. Like, the CBT, why do you have to keep taking it to every 2 years other than for the government to keep making money out of you? You know what I mean? It's not like you ride for 2 years and then you're, like, worse than when you started. I don't get it. Will you ever learn to drive a car? I've explained this one before. I can drive a car. I have written a car off in my life. But no, I don't plan on getting a car. They're too expensive, and I actually hate being in cars. I don't like being in a box. And I know people say, oh, you're safer in a car. I don't like the idea of being trapped in a car. I like the idea that, well, I don't know, it's weird, and I suppose being on a bike is a bit more dangerous, but I don't know, I just dislike being in cars. That's a nice one. How was your day? Well, it depends what you're asking about. The day that I made the video is quite funny. When I tried to render that video, I rendered it, and it rendered without any sound. The second time it was rendering, I attempted to fix my my amp, which I did practically fix. It was a dry connection in it, but in finding the dry connection, I had to leave it on, and at some point I was touching one side of the case, and at another point I was touching the power board, and I got quite a large shock off it, which knocked out the electrics and stopped the computer from rendering, so I had to render it 3 times. That day was okayly bad, if that makes sense. But today, I've been working all day and I've had very little sleep. Ask no more questions of today. Why is your bike named Betty? You may have explained this. Probably missed the answer. It's called Betty because she is matte black, and it's after the song, Black Betty. Pretty obvious. Other than that, I decided I wanted it to have a good old person's name. I don't know why old was funny, but it seemed to be funny, so Betty stuck. Ask him if he knows the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow, if you don't mind. African or European? It had nothing to do with tuna. I was hoping it did. Unhappy face. I'm sorry. I couldn't think of a name for that video, and at that point is the point where I went across the roundabout, and lots of people have missed this bit where I say, tuna is worth nothing! It's a reference to something. and it's for a friend of mine because he particularly likes watching this particular thing and he keeps saying it, and it was stuck in my head, and that's why I ended up getting called that. What are your thoughts on people who ride Vespers and Lambrettas? As in scooters, not chavtastic speed shites. I don't think anything of them or not of them. They're just another bike group. They quite often come to where I work and they eat and drink, and they can be quite nice people to talk to. So yeah, they're good people generally. Someone's asked why I don't wear the shiny visor anymore, as in my gold visor, as in that one. I do, but for so long the weather was like crap and then good and then crap that I got so sick of changing it, I just left the other one on it. Also, if it gets to the evening, then I have to switch over. So I tend to only use it when I know I'm going to be coming back earlier, and at the moment with my work I tend to do evening rides, so that's why, basically. I do prefer that one. It's amazing how much clearer everything is, and yet they're illegal. And that's just ridiculous because I feel so much safer with that on. But I've never tried it at night, and I'm not going to, because I don't think it's going to be a good idea. Hey Spicy, I've been wondering why you don't have mirrors. Is it purely aesthetic, or can you function just as well without them? It is aesthetic to a point, but also they didn't really work very well for me because I'm quite wide, so I used to have to duck one elbow in to look at that one and then look under in between my arm and that one. I didn't see anything, and I spent more time trying to see people behind me than looking in front of me. So I've now decided that by having them off, I tend to do shoulder checks a lot more often. And I haven't had a problem up to now, but then I have been riding for a few years. People who ask me about that, who are just starting to get a bike or have only been riding for a short while, keep your mirrors on, use them. I'm not saying I'm an amazing rider or anything, I'm just saying I'm experienced enough now to not have to worry quite so much. I can trust myself to look behind me. If you could have any motorbike on the planet, all expenses paid, including fuel, that you had to use as your only transport, what would it be? That's difficult, but I would really like a hypermotard. Ducati. I'd have to pay someone to keep the thing running, obviously, but no, they are just amazing looking bikes and sounding, and just... Would you ever consider going on a long road trip with some of the other awesome vloggers out there, i.e. Frizz020, Furious607, or Cheesecake94, I think it's 94, sorry mate if it's not, etc., whilst riding Betty? On Betty, no, I wouldn't trust it, to be honest. It would be fine, I'm sure, but I don't know, me and that bike, I trust it, it's never let me down, but when I think about going on long trips, I think I'd probably kill it. Have you ever had pancakes? See, that word means different things now, doesn't it? Thanks to Jake, where is he? Jake, playing the card at him again, pancakes have now got a new meaning. Why am I telling you this? Yes, of course. Is you could have sexual intercourse with one celebrity, who would it be and why? I don't know. Mila. Anyway, I got a question. Have you ever been to the Isle of Man for the TT races, and if not, do you ever want to see it? I would love to go, but it's very expensive, so maybe some point in my life. At the same time, it scares the shit out of me watching that sometimes. I have so much respect for TT racers, you wouldn't believe it. They are crazy motherfuckers. Anyone says they've got balls, they've got balls. How much is your tuna? It's currently £1.49 a can. Although it does consist of a large amount of possum meat. Have you ever wanted to visit the US? This is a strange one. I used to say that I would never want to go to America, but since I started vlogging, I've talked to a lot of people around the world, and I've seen America in a different light now, and I would very much like to visit there, yes. And if I go there, I will be going to Texas, obviously, to see Jake, because I have to kick his ass, as I've said before. I think, maybe? Yeah, I think there'll be a fight in the airport when I meet him. What is the right age to start potty training? 34, I think is a good time. It's about that time you have to really think about, crap, my pants again. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Okay, the next one. Will you ever go and stay at Jake's, and how did you meet him? As I've just said, yes, I will be going to see him at some point, but I don't know when. The way me and Jake got talking was basically, I think I commented on a video of his. I was talking to him about getting a DRZ at the time, and this is when we had about the same amount of subs. In fact, I think I might have had more than him at that point. So, to you, Jake, well done, mate. You've done very well. We got talking through private messages, and then he responded to something I'd said in a video, in one of his videos, and then we got talking even more, and since then we've been talking on a regular basis, and I would consider him a very, very good friend by this point, although he still can be a dick, and that's why this card exists. I've explained about this card before, and this one, but the fact that I've had to make his own talk about TT. Yes, anyway, I had to make his own one because he got so big-headed. What kind of helmet do you use? Well, for my vlogs, I use this one. Gorgeous helmet, a lot of vloggers use them. And so I don't ever have to do a setup video. Camera attaches here, Drift HD 170 Stealth, before you ask that. The microphone cord goes underneath, goes in between and pokes out the front of the cheek piece, just in here, you know, there, and that is that. That is a Scala Rider G4, which is used for the dual vlogs and stuff, and it's also used for listening to music, and when me and Frizz did the dual vlog when we did the Portsmouth meet. So there you go, answered that question, and other ones, so I don't ever have to make a boring setup video. How did your parents react to you first riding a bike? My parents are very against me getting one as they are too dangerous. My dad is not a big fan of bikes, as I understand it. My mum used to ride a bike at one point when she was in the police, so she's ridden them. But had very little influence on me choosing to get a bike. She wasn't entirely happy at first until I explained to her how much cheaper it was and how I'm never going to get any transport, and she'll keep giving me lifts for years and years and years in the car if I don't get something, and I'm not going to be getting a car because it's so expensive, and you can see why she agreed. But to be honest with you, by the time that I got a bike I was 21, so it wasn't really a what she thought type thing. It was, I'm getting a bike, deal with it. I don't want to ask you a question because I want you to get some sleep. Now go to bed, you naughty, naughty boy, stern-looking face. I'm sorry, I did get some more sleep that day. If your mum was still in the forces, do you reckon she'd let you off for speeding? No. What would you do if you had no bike? I would go insane. I'm not even joking. I'm not thinking about it. Okay, 2 questions from one person. When are you having another group ride? Brighton Burn Up, 9th of September, I will be there, all being well. And next year, me and Furious, I believe, we're going to see what happens, but we're going to do another Portsmouth meet because the first one was very cool. And the second one is, why are you going for a supermoto as a big bike? Why not a sports one? Because I love supermotos. They are way more fun. Would you have sexual intercourse with a donkey named Bertha if you would get your DRZ right away? If you can explain to me how having sex with a donkey called Bertha is going to get me a bike, I might answer that question a bit further. But probably no. I'm not into donkeys. Or animals of any kind, to be honest. Does Betty have new bars? Yes. Watch my couple of videos back, you'll see I bought them as a present. Good question to ask you. A good question to ask me? Is it getting too dark for the exposure of this video? And the answer to that one is probably yes, hence me turning the light on. Sorry if the exposure and the angle and the setup for this isn't great, but let's face it, most of you are probably just going to be listening to it anyway, so whatever. Why did you go for 4-stroke and not 2-stroke? I personally believe that 2-strokes on the road in small CC are not going to be as good as 4-strokes. I'm not talking about speed, performance or anything like that, I'm just talking about reliability. 2-strokes do have a habit of, blowing up because they are going at that RPM. higher RPMs than a 4-stroke. So that is my view on it. Plus, I'm not a big fan of the noise of a 2-stroke. It's good in places, but on the road while trying to vlog, no. Sorry, I just got distracted by a beetle flying past my window. What is your career path? Where do you see yourself at 29? Because I know you don't see yourself living past 30, lot. I don't know. See what happens. What is your view on trikes and them BHP Can-Ams? I think I've covered that in a video before now when I said about, like, why do people bother getting them, and I thought at the time they were pointless. If you're getting one because you're too old to ride, or you'll get, like, your knees are bad, or your hips or your back's bad, and you're getting it instead of getting a bike, like, or going from a bike to one of them, then it makes sense. And the same for people who've had bike crashes, or just disabled people that can't ride bikes but would still want the experience of riding a bike, then they're good. If you're buying one instead of a bike, when you could perfectly well get a bike, I don't think they're very good, no. Question. Why do you call people that wear flat caps and farmers' jumpers chavs? Why do I call them chavs? Because they are chavs! It's quite clear to see they're chavs. They're about 17, walking down the middle of Portsmouth High Street with a flat cap on, normally making a lot of noise and being annoying. That's why. You look so much more ridiculous wearing leather jackets and a camera attached to your helmet. Get a fashion sense, mate. I'm on a bike. You work out the rest. If a panda and a sumo wrestler are in a car that is designed to be driven by an octopus, how much have they been drinking? Or, sorry, how much have I been drinking? You've been drinking too much, mate. That's the answer. Okay, the next question. Have you been, or do you want to be in a relationship? Well, I can answer all of them in one go, pretty much. I have been single for about a year now. The last relationship I was in lasted for 3.5, nearly 4 years. And I've been enjoying the past year as being single. Maybe, I don't know. I don't see anyone that I know now being someone that might end up being in a relationship with, so I don't really know. It depends. When I meet someone, then I might realise. I don't know. What are the 3 most random items you own, motorcycle or non-motorcycle related? What made you choose a Pulse Adrenaline? I've covered that in the Q&A for the Pulse Adrenaline, the 2 Q&As, watch those. 3 most random items? I'm only going to do this in arm's reach. Let's see. I have hard drive disc coasters. Fairly random. What else can I find around here? Mudguard. Nearly all the sprockets that have ever been on my bike. In fact, that's not all of them, there is more, but the only ones I've ever cleaned. Why do I still have them? I don't know. A shoe. Is that 3? I don't know. Right, well, that is all of the questions. Well, not all of them, but I've selected a few out from all the questions you sent me. I hope yours was answered, or through another question yours was answered. So there you go. I may do another one of these again in a few months, maybe, a couple of months, and I'll catch you next time. Offer me money, basically, in the past few days, including someone saying, or a couple of people saying, you should set up a PayPal and everyone can make donations to it. Now, I mean, that is very kind of people to feel like they'd be willing to do that.